Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this month's Audio Drama Dojo. I'm your host, Sensei Rob, as usual. And tonight I thought, well, I've spent the last two episodes talking about my own shows and where they came from and such, but it occurred to me that at some point in the future, some of you are going to have the same dream. Hopefully in the near future, because the truth is, this is an open field. Anyone with a little creativity and a mic can basically start making audio drama. In fact, that's pretty much how all of us started. And I thought I'd spend this show giving you a few tips. So the subtitle for this show is, So You Want to Make Audio Drama. I thought I'd talk about a few considerations. This is the Audio Drama Dojo after all, so it's time we started talking about audio drama in general, not just my stuff. Although it'll be my stuff too, but for tonight, let's talk about audio drama in general, shall we? Okay, so, you want to make audio drama. Well, welcome to the club. Chairs over there, grab a drink, have a seat, join the club. The first thing you got to think about is whether you're going to be doing studio audio drama or satellite audio drama. And I'll explain what those two terms mean. Studio audio drama is when exactly that. You have a bunch of people that you get together in a studio and you give them a script, put together some sound effects. It's sometimes called live audio drama, although that can be a tiny bit different. And generally speaking, you have a studio, you get everyone together in one place, you rehearse the lines. It's like a play, and then you perform it. In post-production, you might add sound effects, music, etc., etc., but the actual show itself is done live in a studio of some kind. Now, the studio can actually be just somebody's bathroom or someone's walk-in closet. It doesn't have to be a professional radio studio. But if you have access to a radio studio, and some of you do, then that's not a bad place to do it. I mean, one of the enemies of an audio drama producer, which you will find very soon if you start doing it, is noise, specifically outside noise. The world is an incredibly noisy place, and one of the first things we're trying to do is get rid of the outside noise. After all, it's hard to convince people your characters are on the jungles of Venus if you can hear, police sirens going whizzing by and hear traffic in the background or other things. Yeah, it kind of kills that whole suspension of disbelief thing. So that's why a studio is your friend. And generally studio audio drama, as I said, is done with everyone in one place, which makes it the opposite of satellite audio drama. Satellite audio drama, which is a term I first heard used by Jack Ward of the Sonic Society. Don't know where he got it from, but I'll give him the credit for it. Kudos, Jack, because I think it's an excellent term. Satellite audio drama is when you have people literally scattered all over the earth, sending their lines in via satellite, via fiber optics, via telephone, via CD. Doesn't matter how they get to you. The key point is you get lines. Traditionally, you get them through the internet in the form of an MP3 file, but whatever works for you. So, the catch with satellite audio drama is that the actors will pretty much never meet each other. You might occasionally get a few people that live in the same area and they might know each other, but as a general rule, people in satellite audio dramas, the actors never see each other, never meet each other. They often don't even know each other, even online. They might have heard of each other, but often not. So you've got this group of people recording their lines individually and then sending them all in. This is something you have to think about, because once you've started producing audio drama, they have very different feelings and will give you very different results. What I mean by that is that if you do studio audio drama with everyone together, you're going to get a lot of good chemistry between the actors. Well, assuming the actors have good chemistry, of course. But the thing is, they're actually really reacting to each other. You're getting real, on-the-spot, reactionary acting. And that generates an energy. I almost say that good studio audio drama, even the voices almost sound like music as they go along. At least if the actors are good. You've just got this rhythm going back and forth. And it's really obvious. Satellite audio drama, on the other hand, is when the creator takes a piece of software and then stitches all these lines from people who never see each other and don't know what they're reacting to together. Sometimes the results can actually be surprisingly natural. Sometimes they can be really horrible and don't match at all. And that's where the director comes in, which is, again, you, if you're a one-man show, as many people are. So you won't get the same rhythm. In fact, actually, satellite audio drama can often sound a little bit stilted or a little bit awkward. Some of it depends on your actors. Some of it will depend on your script. I've noticed that the stronger the script, and that doesn't just mean like lots of directions, although really lots of directions, especially for satellite, are very important. You have to give your actors more ideas of what they're working with because they have nothing to work with. It's literally your script and their imagination. And the more you can give them, the better result you're going to get. It's that simple. So often with satellite, you can kind of cover up some of the awkwardness with timing, music, some sound effects. There are a few tricks you can use to cover up some of the awkwardness, but the truth is, as a producer, I can tell you when I'm listening to audio drama that was done in the studio and it was done by a satellite. It's unfortunately startlingly obvious. And in fact, at first, I found listening to satellite audio drama really awkward. I guess I kind of just got used to it now. I can tell the difference, but I'm just used to listening to it, so it doesn't bother me anymore. But at first, actually, yeah, it did feel a little bit awkward. The first stuff I listened to was by Pendant Audio. I listened to their Superman and, Batman, Wonder Woman, Pendant, Dixie Stenberg, whichever it is. And at first I didn't like it very much because it didn't have the naturalness I was used to hearing when I started listening to OTR shows. Like I was used to listening to stuff that was done in studio, the old-time radio. And I found the satellite stuff a little bit awkward, and it took a little bit of getting used to. Eventually, though, I did get used to it, and now I can appreciate it like anything else, but I think satellite can be a bit of an acquired taste. Unfortunately, for some of us, it's really necessary. When I was first starting out in this, I was literally, as I've mentioned, I think before, sitting in an apartment alone in Taiwan, me and my bachelor's apartment, in a country full of people that didn't speak English, thinking, I'm going to do audio drama. And then, of course, it occurred to me, how the hell am I going to do audio drama? And my eventual conclusion, of course, was to do satellite drama, stitched all the lines together, etc., etc. But it was a little daunting at first, which actually brings me to my next topic. So, there I am, in Taipei, Taiwan, and I want to make audio drama. I have an internet connection, I have a computer, I have a microphone, and it's just me. So, where was I going to find people? Now, when I first started out, I recruited my friends. I think I mentioned this on a previous show, how I sent ecstatic emails to all my friends saying, guess what, guys, you're all going to be in my audio drama. And of course, they all, sent me messages saying, you want me to do what? But after a lot of cajoling, I managed to get them to do it. And so that kind of worked. But the key point there is that you can't rely on your friends and family and that to be excited about audio drama the way you are. Let's face it, a lot of them didn't grow up on it. Some of them might think it's cool, some of them might think it's stupid. And then, of course, there's the sheer factor of actors and quality. Even if you are a brilliant actor, that doesn't mean the rest of your family is or that your friends are. And what you may get out of the result may not sound all that wonderful. Even if you're doing studio, even if you can convince them all to come into the same place you are, that doesn't mean you're going to get natural sounding stuff or good quality stuff out of them. It's a sad but true fact. If you are looking for local people for a studio production, you might consider trying some local forums that are online, look for people there. You might consider looking into some acting groups. Maybe go to the local university or college. Most of them have drama clubs or theater clubs. You could try local high schools. It is amateur. That could get a little trickier because, of course, there's insurance, and they might wonder why you, a 40-year-old, are suddenly wanting to hang out with a bunch of 16-year-olds. The school might not be all that happy when you come wandering in, let's put it that way. So you have to approach them very carefully. You might want to try approaching the head of the local school's drama department and seeing what they say and seeing if they have any recommendations. Every high school, of course, and most colleges and universities have a few budding drama stars. You could check out some local college radio people. I've noticed for some reason that a lot of the voice actors I've met online have actually done radio. Some of the best people I've worked with have actually worked in college or even regular radio. They're very comfortable in front of the mic. They know what to do. They know how to do it. Now, of course, actually, I should stop there for a moment. When I'm talking in this show about producing audio drama, I'm assuming that you're like me. I'm assuming that you have almost no budget and that you're generally looking to do this production by the sweat of your brow, by a small amount of software, and that's pretty much it. I'm assuming that you basically are starting out with no real budget. If you have a budget, then things can go a little bit of a different direction. See, one of the catches is if you have a budget, you can actually hire actors, which means you can, in theory, get who you want. It's probably a little easier to cast in that sense, at least if you want them in the studio. And you own the production. I mean, if you pay them, you've paid for their performance and everything. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know exactly how this works. But at that point, you can own the production if you've paid them. If you haven't paid them, technically the production is still yours. But a case could be made that if you decide one day you want to start selling this show, you could make a very real case that they might come to you and say, well, we were in your production, where's our cut? Because this is our production too. That's something to think about. You can't just, expect people to work for free and then turn around and sell your product. Depends, of course, on the laws of your land, but that might be something you want to think about. I mean, that's the advantage of paying everyone is you do own your work and you can do what you want with it. The disadvantage, of course, is that a lot of us don't have the money to do that. And so that's why most of what I'm talking about today is how to do it for free, how to do it on the cheap. The catch with that, of course, is that it's essentially a group production, group project, and don't expect to start going off and charging for it. I generally consider my own productions, not the stories, not the characters, but the productions themselves, to be Creative Commons works. They were produced with actors donating their time, produced with Creative Commons sound effects, which come with a license that says any work that these are used in becomes Creative Commons. They're produced with Creative Commons music. Again, any work that these are used in needs to be a Creative Commons work. Otherwise, you should be paying that person who made them. Now, the wonderful thing is, there is a lot of Creative Commons stuff out there, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. So it's very easy for you to produce audio drama using Creative Commons material. But I'm just warning you now that once you start using Creative Commons material, your work becomes Creative Commons. Now, that doesn't mean your script is Creative Commons. That doesn't mean your characters are Creative Commons. But it means the work itself is. That's something to think about. Okay, so I've netted on long enough about satellite versus studio audio drama. So we'll assume you figured out what you want to do. And, okay, so I talked about where to find people close to you. But let's talk about people far away. Let's say you're in a situation like I was, where there are no English-speaking people around you, or at least no people that are interested in doing your project around you. Where do you go? Well, the place that I first went to was the Podcast Pickle forums. There is a section in the forum for people who are looking for voice work of some kind, and a number of very nice people are there, and you can go in there and ask them to help out. And I know that that's how some people started out and found some of their actors. But it is a little bit limited, and you can't be sure how many responses you're going to get. Another option might be Twitter. Again, a modern internet solution. If you're a Twitter user, you can put up a tweet that basically says, I need actors. I need 3 guys. I need 4 girls for my new Star Wars fan fiction extravaganza. Who wants to be Princess Leia and who wants to be Luke Skywalker? At that point, if you've got a decent number of people on your, Twitter account, you might actually be able to pull it off. You might be able to get enough people with microphones going, well, yeah, I want to be Luke Skywalker. I mean, who didn't when they were a kid? At least if you're our generation. But, again, still kind of limited. Now, the first real place for voice acting online I went to was the Voice Acting Alliance. VoiceActingAlliance.com. And that is still actually where I do the majority of my casting, get the majority of my auditions from, and generally it's my go-to place. Now the catch with voiceactingalliance.com is that most of the actors there are teens and college students. So you have to be aware that the actors you're generally going to get there are young. They're truly amateur actors. They're people looking for experience. And Voice Acting Alliance, people there do work for fan dubs, they do work for video games, voiceovers, all sorts of stuff. They're really just people looking for experience, for things they can put on their resume. Which is great. I mean, I think it's wonderful. Two little catches with voiceactingalliance.com. If you're doing fan fiction, you can expect a lot of response. Fan fiction, fan works, I should call it, for audio. So again, that Star Wars one, you're going to do great. However, as someone who's done mostly original work, I have to tell you that if you put up auditions for original work on voiceactingalliance.com, you will probably be lucky if you can fill out your cast. You might be one of those few lucky ones who gets enough auditions to fill out your cast, but not everyone does, and yeah, it's not always that easy. So that's something to think about. That's just the price you have to pay, unfortunately, for doing original productions. People don't know what to make of your work. They haven't heard of it. They don't know you. They don't know the production. They don't know any ideas. Some actors do actually love original productions because it means they can make their own character and they don't have to imitate other people. But it's easier to catch the imagination of, especially the younger actors, with fanworks. So if you're doing fanworks, well, yeah, then voiceactingalliance.com is probably the right place for you. If you're doing original works, it can be the right place for you, but you've got to be prepared to do a little legwork and make yourself known. You might seriously consider listening to a bunch of the other productions that people are putting up there and doing what's called scouting, which is another great way to find actors, actually. When you listen to productions, especially amateur ones like, Kung Fu Action Theater and other ones, you find out who the actors are. That's what those cast lists are for. And you contact them and say, hey, you want to be in my show? I heard you. You're wonderful. You sound perfect for Princess Leia. You want to be in my show? And they might say, yeah, sure, sounds great. Or they might say, sorry, nope, too busy. Either way, especially for original productions, I personally have found casting via scouting probably to be one of the better ways. I always put up a full audition, but I've done 25 radio plays at this point. Every one of them cast at voiceactingalliance.com to one degree or another. And I can say that it's only in the last maybe 5 to 10, to give you an idea how long it took, before I developed enough reputation that I could put auditions up and have actors send in more auditions than I actually needed. Or to be more precise, give me an actual choice of who I was casting. Because after all, the more auditions you get, the more options you have. The more options you have, the better your production can be. At least that's the theory. Sometimes, if you're really lucky, you get people who are the right people for those roles, auditioning for those roles, which is great. Especially with original productions, that can work out fine. Anyway, so back on track. So, not everyone likes the Voice Acting Alliance. As I said, the crowd there tends to be a little bit younger. If you need someone to do older characters like middle-aged or often male, that's when their catches with voiceactingalliance.com. Traditionally, it has maybe like up to 70 to 80% female to 20 to 30% male ratio going. Voiceactingalliance.com started out as a Sailor Moon dub fan site, and for some reason, it's always retained that slight female dominance. That's something to consider too. If you're casting for young females, voiceactingalliance.com is definitely your place. If you're looking for males, maybe not. Expect if you have males to probably do some scouting. There are other places, however. There is the Voice Acting Club. The VAC, it's called sometimes. The Voice Acting Club, just type it into Google, you'll find it. I don't remember where it's .com or .org. Either way. So, you got Voice Acting Club. Now, the Voice Acting Club, though, is primarily a place for flash animations, for fan dubs, for games. It's not really focused on doing radio plays and audio drama. You can get people there Again, you have much better odds if you're doing fan works, but there is a slightly different crowd of people there. I personally have never had much success at the voice acting club. I'll be blunt. Not a slam against them. It's just that the stuff that I do is never interested the people there, it seems. In fact, actually, to my knowledge, I've never gotten a single audition from the voice acting club. Now, I know a few voice acting club members, and I've worked with a few voice acting club members, but ironically, I met them all through the Voice Acting Alliance, because often people go to both. Yeah, it's just to warn you, if you don't get many auditions in the voice acting club, and you're doing an audio drama, don't be surprised and don't be too discouraged. You might have to do more scouting there. But again, most of the projects you're going to see listed there that their members are doing are mostly animation and video games and such, so you want to take that into account. So, now you're probably wondering, okay, got a place for kids, got a place for young people, but we can't find any older actors. But maybe you need someone to do like generals for your audio drama or, grandmothers or whoever. Well, there is one more hope you have, which is the Audio Drama Talk forums. Audio Drama Talk is a fairly new place. It's only been around, I think it's 4 months at this point, but luckily it's grown by leaps and bounds, and it's a forum for producers and fans of audio drama, as the title suggests. It's mostly rallied around a show called the Sonic Society. At least that's kind of been the flagship. In some ways, it's the forum of the Sonic Society. But it's gone far, far beyond that. The Audio Drama Talk Forum is a great place filled with lots of friendly people, most of whom I found are older. And a good number of actual producers hang out there, so you can get tips from producers. Most of them write stuff, some fans. In general, it's a good place. I highly recommend it if you get the chance. Drop by anyway. You'll find a great directory of groups like Kung Fu Action Theater, Dream Realm Entertainment, Crazy Dog Audio Theater, Decoder Ring Theater, Icebox Radio Theater, all sorts of places. And most of their producers are there. Yeah, in general, audiodramatalk.com. Check it out. It's worth your while. If you haven't checked it out already, what are you waiting for? Go. Do it. Do it. After the show. Wait until I'm done. Then you can go. Okay. But the nice thing about Audio Drama Talk is that about a month or so after it formed, we managed to convince Crash, the administrator, to... Yes, I'm a regular there too. We managed to convince Crash, the administrator, to open a casting sub-forum. So you can actually advertise for actors there. And I've found that I've gotten a good number of older voice actors there, male and female. And, actually, it's a very friendly, great place. Good for casting, good for meeting people. If you want to get into producing audio drama, you should be visiting audiodramatalk.com. At least that's my recommendation. Up to you.
Bond. Dangerous.
The relic!
Sophisticated.
Are you ready to order?
Romantic. And beautiful.
Bond. Lara Bond.
I bet you didn't know James had a sister, did you?
Move in!
0012. Lara Bond. Only at imaginationlane.net.
What? You were expecting someone else?
Okay, so, next on our list. So you've got people. You know how you're going to do it. Next thing you're going to need is software. The first software you want to think about at this stage, if you haven't already, is your word processing software. What are you going to write this thing on? Do you know? Probably most of you are thinking, okay, I'll just whip out my copy of Word. Maybe WordPad. Maybe whatever it is Macs use, which I don't know. Maybe OpenOffice. That's great. Many producers actually do write their stuff on the generic word processing software. And you can do it, works fine. When I first started out, I would say my first dozen productions were actually written on Microsoft Word. It's great, it's handy, you can do it almost anywhere. Why not? However, if you want a program that's going to help you with formatting and make your stuff look a little more professional and is keyed to audio drama producers, there are two options. One of them is free, one of them is not. These are two main options anyway that I recommend. The free one is a program called Celtics, and it was a piece of software specifically designed for audio drama producers. It will help you format things, it'll help you with notations. In general, and it's free, so it'll be in the show notes, go check it out. I haven't actually used it myself, I'll be completely honest, but I know a lot of the other producers do, and I know, as I said, it was designed for audio drama producers. So it's definitely worth checking out, especially if you're working on no to low budget. If you have a little more budget, which I found myself with after I started to get serious on things, you could pick up a copy of Final Draft. I myself used Final Draft 7, and since I started using it, I've never gone back to Microsoft Word. I actually started before Celtics came out, you have to understand. If I had known about Celtics when I started, I might have actually been using Celtics instead of Final Draft. But I didn't, and I'm used to Final Draft, so of course I'm going to use it. Final Draft is a great program. It's very powerful. It's actually meant for script writing in general, not just for audio drama. It's got movie templates and TV shows, even specific movies and specific TV shows. And it's literally professional grade software. It's used by people in the actual entertainment industry to produce their stuff. Ironically enough, I only use a tiny, tiny fraction of its actual power because I'm just using it for really basic script writing functions. But it does have some neat stuff, like, for example, when you're writing a conversation between two characters. Once you finish dialogue and you go to the next character, once you've established the two characters, it will automatically assume that you're writing for the next character and just automatically enter their name as the next character who's speaking. Things like that. Just lots of little things to make your job easier. Yeah, Final Draft is a good program for making your job easier. It's not a perfect program, at least not for writing audio drama. I've actually never managed to find an actual radio player audio drama template on the darn thing, so I just used the generic template. But in general, Final Draft's pretty good. I like it, and I'm not changing. Sorry, Jack. Okay, so you've got software to write. Now you need software to edit. Now, your audio software options, if you're running on no budget, come down to probably Audacity. At least if you're a PC user. You've got basically to work with Audacity. There's also Goldwave and a few other older programs, but generally speaking, Audacity is your only option. Audacity is a good program. A lot of podcasters use it, and even I started out using it when I was doing audiobooks at the beginning of Kung Fu Action Theater. For that, it's wonderful. You can do a lot with Audacity. Audacity does, however, have a few problems. Problem number one, you can only put one audio sample on one audio track at a time. So what you end up with is that every single audio track will be a different line. This is a problem because you can't do things like applying a special effect to a line. So for example, if you have a character speaking, you can apply a special effect for audio drama. Remember, we're working in lots of little clips. So what you'll end up with is the character speaking, but you'll have to modify every single clip to sound like the other clips. Let's say you want an echo. You'll have to make sure that all the clips echo on every individual line. You can't just go, everything echo for that one character anyway. You couldn't have one character always echoing and one character not. You can, but it's going to take you a lot of work. I personally find Audacity to be an organizing nightmare. Every audio file has to go on a different line. So what you end up with is a production that looks kind of like a staircase, with each file going down, and it just goes down and down and down. Every file has to be on a separate line. Every individual file has to be on an individual line, which I find incredibly annoying and confusing. But that's just me. If you're only working with a couple lines, like music, it's not a big problem. But if you're working with a audio drama and an average scene has maybe 20 to 30 clips, remember every time the person speaks, it's a different clip. Yeah, Audacity's a nightmare. I have heard of some people who what they do is they will mix scenes in tiny pieces. So for example, what you do with Audacity is you take six clips, 2 people speaking, so that's 3 lines each. You stick them there so you can all see them on the screen. You line them up the way you want them to be, then you mix down into a single file. You export an MP3 file. All 6 lines are now in position as a single file, so they're now a single clip. So let's say you had 36 clips, you mix them in bunches of 6, then again you stick them on, you've now got 6 clips, again each on a different vertical line. You can more visually and easily line them up, you mix them down again, ta-da, you've got one file with the characters talking. Of course, you've had to put clips together and mix down, that's 8 times to pull that off, to get this one file with just the characters talking. Then we have to talk about sound effects, then we have to talk about music. And I've got to tell you, I have had scenes that have had upwards of 60 voice clips, plus another 30 or so sound effects clips, plus music. So we would be talking, a couple hundred lines, all not together, but vertical. Just an incredible nightmare. I often tell people, look, you're serious about audio drama, Audacity is not your program. However, I do know of a couple producers who actually do use Audacity probably the way I just described. At least one of them uses it the way I just described, because that's where I got it from. Audacity's a bit troublesome that way. It's also got other quirks, but again, you're getting it for free. The other problem with Audacity that I found is noise reduction. Audacity's noise reduction sucks. Now, this is incredibly important for an audio drama producer, because every clip that you've got, if you're a satellite audio drama producer, is done in a different room. So you'll have 2 people talking to each other, but their background noise is completely different. And you can actually hear it. So when one person's speaking, you'll get one set of background noise, and another person another set of background noise. You can cover that up with ambient sound effects, you can cover that up with music, but the truth is, you're gonna have a really bad sounding audio drama. It's just one of those sad but true things. If you can't do noise reduction, it's almost not worth doing. Like, your production will just sound so bad. I'm sorry to say this, but even some of the better voice actors have some of the crappier mics, because every microphone has a slightly different noise or sound, and every system has a different noise or sound. And as I said earlier, noise is the audio drama producer's greatest enemy. So, if you don't have good noise reduction software, you are screwed. And Audacity sucks when it comes to noise reduction. Now, some people do have better programs they're using to record, so you can actually ask your actors to remove the noise before they send it to you. That's one option. But not all actors can, especially if you're working with new actors, or people who, like you, are just using Audacity. So, in my case, I decided to seek out a better program. And what I got was Adobe Audition 2.0, which is a name that I'd heard. I'd heard of Adobe Audition before. 2.0 was what was out when I started. That's why I still use it. 3.0 is out now. They're mostly the same program. But the key point is Adobe Audition is a much more powerful system. It has a huge advantage on many levels over Audacity. For example, to go back to that business about the clips I was mentioning, if you use Audition, you can put multiple audio clips on the same line. So, for example, I can create a separate line for each character, and then I just put the audio clips on that line for that character. And it just kind of goes back and forth. So what you end up with is 2 horizontal lines, and on each of them is sitting the clips for that character, and only the clips for that character. So it's easy to control sound effects, volume, really anything. You can manipulate just that character's lines. So if they have a weird funky sound effect because they're a robot, congratulations. You just go, robot sound effect, this character's lines. 2 seconds, you're done, it works, hit play, ta-da, it'll sound like a robot. Speaking of which, if any of you have any good tips on how to make characters sound like robots, please send it to kfactiontheater@yahoo.ca, if you're a fellow producer, of course. So, Audition also has great noise removal software. That's the other reason I use it. I can go into my clips with Adobe Audition and go, okay, here's the noise, take it out of this file. And it does. Problem solved. Amazing, isn't it? Technology is wonderful. Even 10 years ago, couldn't have done this. It would have had to have been done in the studio. That's the thing. Satellite audio drama is literally a creation of the 21st century. It literally wouldn't have been possible even 10 years ago. But now it's so easy, anyone can do it. Welcome to the 21st century. A new era, even for audio drama. Okay, so yes, Audition is wonderful. There are many similar programs to Audition you can get out there. They don't come cheap. Audition itself is $300 US. And it's one of the medium-priced programs. You can get cheaper versions if you're a student or a teacher, like I am. But yeah, Audition's a medium-cost one. There are some more slightly lower-cost ones you can get. I haven't played around with them too much. Like there's Sony SoundForge, which I think is $199, but don't quote me on it. And then there's a whole bunch, which are $6, $7, couple $1,000. Because they're actually meant for sound engineers. Remember, we're using programs that were actually designed to make music and professional audio for video and things like that. We're just using them to make radio plays. That's the thing. So they're incredibly expensive and they do actually far more than we need, but unfortunately they're the right tool for the job. Say, Levy, just a side note. If you are a Mac user, and you've come into Mac within the last couple of years, or if you bought your Mac within the last couple of years, you should probably have a copy of iLife on it. And if you have a copy of iLife, you have a copy of GarageBand. GarageBand is a wonderful little program that basically amounts to a slightly stripped-down version of Adobe Audition. It has the same principles. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite have the same noise reduction abilities. It has some, but it's just something they didn't consider that important for some reason. So you have to buy plugins which cost money, like SoundSoap, or other things, if you want to do noise reduction. You can do a little bit of noise manipulation on GarageBand, but you can't really do full noise reduction like the way you can with Audition. However, in general though, GarageBand is actually a great little program for doing audio drama. It does almost everything Audition does a few different things that Audition doesn't do, and in general, if you're a Mac user, pretty much right out of the box, you can start producing audio drama. So if any of you are considering upgrading to a Mac, well, there's another reason to upgrade to a Mac. Oh, yes, one other thing about Macs. At least if you buy a, iMac, the little Mac laptops. One of my friends bought a Mac laptop, was going to do audio drama. That's how I know a little bit about it. Unfortunately, he very quickly discovered that Macs use a proprietary plug-in for their input. So a normal microphone is not long enough to work on a Mac computer. You need either an adapter or to buy one of their special Mac microphones. This is something to keep in mind. I don't know if this applies to the desktop, but at least on the laptops, yes, you're ready to go right from square one, but you will find that your $500 condenser microphone that you think is wonderful without another, adapter is not going to work. That's something to think about. Macs have a lot of little costs and investments that have to go with them sometimes. But if you get everything together, yeah, you can be pretty good. So there's your warning. GarageBand's wonderful for mixing, but if you plan on doing recording on your own for voiceovers, for introductions, whatever, to act yourself, keep that in mind. You're going to need a special adapter or a special mic for using on an Apple computer.
In other news, the giant ominous greenhouse in the sky continues spewing out harmful gaseous substances. Officials are calling these greenhouse gases very dangerous and possibly...
Coming soon from Golden Lobster Audio.
You are a worthy piece of shit, and in that worthiness your shit shall be legendary. You hold within you the shit of shits, and in that shit I must present to you a task. A rather shitty task.
A heartwarming tale of adventure, romance, action, and intense suspense.
I am Tav, High Priest of the Goddess Mierda. Blessed is her shit, the holy shit, the true shit.
Rotia Novus Ortus, with Jules Ishmael as Tav.
Oh shit.
Rebecca Thrasher as Jessica Lawson.
I have a box of laxatives in my back pocket.
And Gwendolyn Jensen Woodard as the Goddess Mierda.
And I must ask you now, if you believe your shit is loyal enough to complete this ultimate shit.
Rotia Novus Ortus. Listen to it, please.
Okay, so we've covered audio software, word processing software, where to find people. Let's talk about the other two biggies, music and sound effects. Now, if you are looking for music, you again have several different options. I'm going to be honest with you. There are generally two schools of thought when it comes to music and, to a degree, sound effects. Some people, because often we're doing free productions, and the key point is if you're doing a free non-profit production, basically don't worry too much about copyright for music and sound effects, and just, use whatever they can find. So if they hear a great song in a movie, they get a hold of that movie's soundtrack, one way or the other, and they use that song, say the theme from Pirates of the Caribbean, you want it for your pirate action audio drama, you just grab it, get an MP3 of it, and use it. And you can do that. I know a good number of audio drama makers actually literally, especially if you're doing fan works, will go and find the soundtrack for that show, especially if Star Trek, Star Wars, lots of anime. They all have soundtracks out. You can buy the soundtracks. Ta-da, there's your soundtrack. There's your music. You can also, in theory, use the, not just theory, practice. You can also use the soundtracks for anime, for every anime show, and there's a lot of them. The Japanese produce like dozens a year. Have full soundtracks to go with them, and you can often find them online. And the nice thing about using a Japanese soundtrack is odds are the people that own the copyright will never ever hear your production because they're not likely to listen to audio in English, and so because they'll never hear it, you can pretty much use it with impunity. And the odds are you will never get caught, never get in trouble because A, the copyright holder isn't going to hear it, and B, you're a non-profit production, so it's not like they feel they're getting ripped off, so they're not going to bother with you. Most fan productions work this way. And in fact, some of the, fan groups I know of are pretty loose on where they can get their music. Wherever they get it, that's fine. However, if you want to stay on the right side of the intellectual property laws, you pretty much have, again, two more options. Three more options now that I think about it. One, you can make your own music or get friends to make music for you. If you happen to know musicians or are a musician, there you go. 2, you can go to some royalty-free places online and buy music. Often it might cost you even up to $100 a song, but you can actually just buy the rights to use music in your productions. Again, if you're doing this on the cheap, it's probably not going to be that easy. But again, I'm just telling you about your options. Very few people do this, but it can be done. There's Sound Dogs and some other places. They do have music up that you can use. Yeah, just do a search for royalty-free music in Google, and you will find sites that you can buy music and buy CDs and other things you can use. Maybe that'll work for you. Your third option is the wonderful Creative Commons system. There are a number of sites, including the PodSafe Music Network and the Newgrounds.com audio portal and SoundClick.com, that host a large number of young and up-and-coming musicians, just like the young and up-and-coming actors I mentioned earlier, who are looking for promotion for their works. Go to those places, listen to stuff. Newgrounds has more songs on there than you can possibly imagine. Newgrounds.com audio portal. I highly recommend it. PodSafe Music Network. Also very good, although there you'll need to register. SoundClick. Some of their stuff is Creative Commons, some isn't. It depends on the artist and what they want to do with it. They'll have licenses up. Some are willing to sell you their music at a very low cost, sometimes even 99 cents for play rights. But it depends on the artist. If you use music from these places, you should often actually contact the artist and say, hey, I'm going to use your stuff. That okay. In the case of Newgrounds and PodSafe, the artists have already given their permission. They've already made it Creative Commons, which means it's available to you. It's often good policy to contact them and say, hey, I'm using your music, but you don't have to. What you do have to do is, in your credits, you have to give them credit and provide a link back to where you got this music. That's the thing about Creative Commons stuff. Creative Commons is kind of a giant pay-it-forward system. People put stuff that they create out there for other people to use in trade for them giving credit to the original producer. So, for example, in all of my productions, if you check my credits, you will discover a list of places where I got my music from. If it's royalty-free music, I won't list it, or I might just list which collection it's from, or just list that I used music from this collection. If it's Creative Commons music, I will list every single song I use and give a link to where I got that song, or to the artist's homepage, or whatever. You know, they've helped me out by making this music. The very least I can do is take 10 seconds and put a link in my credit notes that says, this is where I got it, here's where you can get it. And of course, you, my listeners, sometimes I figure might actually enjoy hearing this stuff. Like you might actually think, wow, it's a great song. I want to use it in my own production, or just plain you want to use it or hear it again. No problem. That's what it's in the credits for. Go get it. So that covers music. Okay, now, last but not least, we come to sound effects. Okay, here's a name that you're going to want to memorize if you, again, are producing on the cheap, doing Creative Commons stuff. Soundsnap.com. 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 It is a giant repository of Creative Commons sound effects and music and such. Not much music, but mostly sound effects. Gigantic reservoir of sound effects that's constantly being added to. Soundsnap.com. Very easy to search. Some great sound effects up there. Go to it. Again, it wasn't around when I first started, but since it's come into existence, boy, has it made my life easier. So soundsnap.com. Another place you're going to want to go is the Freesound Project. Freesound.com, I believe it is. Basically the same as soundsnap.com. It's all Creative Commons sound effects. Basically, you go in, you start your searches. You will have to register with Freesound, but that's not a big deal. Yeah, there you go. Go to it. Freesound's kind of like a giant mountain of stuff. I find with Freesound, you really have to search. And you have to try a whole bunch of different tags, and you can sometimes find some of those bizarre and wonderful sound effects on Freesound. Stuff that would never end up on Soundsnap.com is on Freesound. There are recordings of actual real people fighting. There are recordings of people wandering through marketplaces all over the world. There are just amazing stuff buried in Freesound. Freesound is just like this giant pile of stuff, so go get it. Freesound, Soundsnap, two best places online to get them. There are a few other places. They're not quite as organized. There's a place called findsound.com. But FindSound's a little tricky because what you're actually doing is you're searching through a huge number of FTP sites that are owned by individual people, that it's kind of a sound effects search engine. It's only good for low quality, short sound effects, and you never quite know where these sound effects have come from. So that's something to think about. It'll just give you the effects based on the keywords you put in. But so findsound.com can occasionally be good too. You can make your own. And if you do make your own, you might consider contributing them to Soundsnap.com or the Freesound Project. I mean, they've helped you with stuff. You might consider helping them. So if you make even a glass of tea being made or something like that, ta-da, you record it. If you get a good copy and you're proud of it, stick it up on one of those sites for other people to use. Pay the community back. That's what Creative Commons is all about. You probably couldn't be doing this on the cheap without them, so you might as well pay a little back. However, despite all of these wonderful, literally, probably 100,000 sound effects being available for free, Creative Commons, right there are going to be times when you can't find the sound effects that you're looking for. No matter how hard you try, for example, you cannot find a sound effect of a large group of people rushing for an exit at a train station or an airport. I spent many hours this past weekend looking for a group of people rushing somewhere, for example. Could I find it? No. Because even though you would think that there would be such a sound effect, no one in the Creative Commons community has made it. So, what can you do? Again, you can make your own, or there is another option. If you have a credit card and you're willing to spend a small amount of money, varying amounts of money, you can go to sounddogs.com, which is a sound effects repository for actual professional grade sound effects. Or you can go to soundeffectslibrary.com, which is my personal favorite. There, you will be able to buy, in the case of soundeffectslibrary.com, they cost about £4, because it's a British site each. So that's what, about $7 US? Somewhere in that area. Might be more, might actually be upwards of $9. But again, you probably don't want to do this on a regular basis if you're doing it on the cheap. But occasionally, if you have a sound effect that you can't make, beg, borrow, steal, then soundeffectslibrary.com or SoundDogs or one of the other sites is probably your friend. Again, it depends on a matter of time and money, whether you have the money and whether you want to put the time into making such a sound effect, which sometimes you can do. You can recombine other sound effects, free ones. Probably what I'm going to do for that Russian group of people sound effect, which you will be able to hear at a point in an upcoming production. And you can judge for yourself whether my kludge that I put together is a good one or not. But were I so inclined, I could go to soundeffectslibrary.com and pay a couple pounds, and ta-da, I have the sound effect, professional grade quality, right there, ready to go. Generally speaking, when it comes to buying sound effects, I have a rule. I buy what I can't make and what I can't get somewhere else. So, for example, in my Little Go productions, you will often hear a Chinese marketplace. Those were purchased from soundeffectslibrary.com because there was no way I could get my hands on a Chinese marketplace. It had to be a medieval Chinese marketplace. Just wasn't going to happen. But there it was, sitting on soundeffectslibrary.com. So, I bought it. And I've never regretted it because I've been able to use it several times. That's the key. You should be thinking about whether you can reuse these sound effects. If you buy them, think about how many times you can use them and how useful they're going to be to you. So I tend to only buy things that I think I can use more than once. Even soundeffectslibrary.com does have its limits, though. That, again, Rushing People sound effect, wasn't able to find one that worked. So that's why I said earlier I'm going to have to make it. Okay, so this thing's gone on long enough. I should probably bring it to a close. I think I've covered pretty much everything, though. We've talked about studio versus satellite. We've talked about word processing software, audio software, finding people. We've talked about the PodSafe Music Network and music. We've talked about sound effects. And in general, yeah, I think I've covered most of the basics you need to think about if you're going to be an audio drama producer. In a future show, I will talk about the writing side of things and actual production. I mean, I've only talked tonight about things you have to think about before you ever actually produce an audio drama. When it comes to actual production, that's an entirely different kettle of fish. And I'll save that for another show. So on that note, I will finish droning on and bid you good night, good day, good luck. Again, bye-bye.